I do remember I was telling my friends the story because a girl I work with, she's like 27, and this guy, she had a great date, and he like never called. She was really upset. And I was like, I remember one time I got set up. I was 30. I was set up by a friend. We went on a date. We had a 4-hour date. He was so funny. We laughed like so hard. And I remember like smiling at him thinking like, kind of wanted one more fun summer of being single. I was like, but I guess you just know when you know.
And then he never called.
He never called.
Oh, no.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Menage-A-Pod, the hysterical comedy podcast about sex, dating, relationships, everything in between. You know, the usual. I'm TJ. As always, I am joined by the mashed potatoes to my gravy, one of my best friends, Jenna. What's up?
Are you saying mashed potatoes because I'm lumpy? Because that's fucked up.
And I'm saying gravy because I'm smooth and creamy.
That's rude. My face will be very smooth after my Botox treatment, so fuck off.
Man, Botox, that's like in the air. Everybody's getting it lately.
I'm telling you, it's the thing to do. I was at a bridal shower, and everyone was talking about it. I mean, imagine like 75 women in a room.
Already
just
imagining
talking about.
Oh, no, I'm out.
In Jell-O. Just kidding.
Talking about Botox.
Oh, goodness. Anyway.
So I hear two things I want to talk about. First thing,
What?
Unemployables podcast, Zacho, Sean, Corey, those guys claiming to be the sexiest podcast in Chicago. How do you feel about that, Jenna? I mean, Zacho's jacked. Give it to him. He's a dreamy son of a bitch, but that's one dude.
Look, honestly, if he were to do everything with his shirt off, I would agree with that. But he doesn't, because I've seen like his like Instagram stuff, and he's always fully clothed. So
fair.
No.
Okay.
If he takes off his shirt and I can objectify him like that, I think he would get the definitive. No, I mean, we are an
anti-objectification
professional.
podcast.
Oh, right, that too. Also, as a professional, I probably shouldn't. But I'm pretty sure I think there would be a lot of ladies out there that would agree with me on that one.
Okay, so moving away from that, one more thing. What's up with you and your wallets?
I can't talk about it. I'm so angry. Apparently, I'm not meant to have one. So there's that. I'm going to have to find a way to never have to carry a wallet again, because yesterday it was stolen.
Coin purse, little coin purse.
Well, it's funny because Rob sent me this, an image of a woman with like a hip pack.
Okay.
Kind of.
Like a fanny pack?
Yeah, kind of. And he goes, "This is what you need." And I said, "Well, what the how did you get that?" And he goes, "I just Googled how to not get robbed." And it was like a coin purse. It was like a little hip pack. And I was like, I will never.
They have Gucci ones. I know you like your high fashion.
Honestly, that wouldn't even, it's still, I don't care. You could put any logo on that shit and I would still not carry it.
Get you a red Gucci fanny pack. You look like 2 Chainz.
Absolutely.
I'm here for it.
Absolutely not. But apparently it's what I need. So it got stolen at a coffee shop the other day. It's Christmas time in the city, you know?
Yeah.
She like took
What's she going to buy me? That's what I want to know.
Well, apparently $600 worth of stuff at Target.
Sweet. I like shit at Target. Fine.
But yeah, so that happened. So now, but what really sucks is I have to fucking travel next week for the holiday and for Thanksgiving, and womp womp. I won't have like an ID.
You'll be
like
all right.
The whole thing.
You'll be all right.
How do you know? Last time
I feel like you'll
all up in
finesse
my
it.
lady bits. Remember?
I do.
It was very invasive and very uncomfortable. And this time, though, I'm going to have the dog with me, so it's an extra layer of shit I'm going to have to deal with.
Was it really invasive, or is that just the stance you're taking for the podcast?
Honestly, I wouldn't have minded as much if we would have been in another room, but we were out in public, like in the public area, and she like went all up in my lady parts.
So, of your kinks, exhibitionism's not one of them?
You know, yeah, that wouldn't bother me. It just felt wrong because she was like an old woman.
Oh, okay. So if it was like Zacho, you'd be cool with it.
Oh, 1,000% I would be fine with it. Yeah. If TSA searched me shirtless, yeah, 1,000%.
All right. So now we know, guys, if you see Jenna anywhere, if you know what she looks like, just steal her wallet. She's not paying that close of attention.
I clearly am not, guys, except... Well, now I'm not going to, so I went online and I got like,
just cuff it to yourself.
I don't even want to tell you because, kind of, that's sort of what it is. And so now I'm going to be like a dude and I'm going to wear it in like my inside pocket of my jacket or something.
Okay.
You know that happens. You know they do that.
Sounds like a
no
good
one's
solve.
going to be reaching to my. If they reach for my boob, they're going to get smacked anyway. So I feel like that's a good spot for it.
Fair. All right. Well, don't get your wallet stolen anymore.
Try not
And
to.
why don't we
No promises, apparently.
introduce the guest for this week?
Let's. That would be great.
I'm super psyched. This is someone that we've actually been trying to get on for a while. We're glad we finally got her here. So with no further ado, she is an ad slinger by day, storyteller and stand-up by night, part of the Personal Disclosures podcast at personal.disclosures podcast. Check it out on Stitcher or iTunes, and you can follow her at bmcguire82. Welcome, Bridget McGuire.
Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. Guys, like we said, we've been really excited. A couple months back, Bridget had an article that went a little viral in the Chicago comedy community, and I happened to see it and immediately passed on to Jen. I was like, we have got to get her on. She's so hysterical. So glad you can be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad you liked the article.
We are so excited to have you here today because I don't know if you know this, and I know you guys. I feel like I say this all the time. I mean, how many times have I talked about how I used to work for the Huffington Post?
45 episodes.
I mean, probably as much as I've talked about how much therapy I've been in, right?
And how many times you've mentioned the divorce.
The divorce. Well, I feel like when I have guests, if they don't actually listen to the podcast, then I have to explain it.
Of course.
Anyway, you guys, hey, remember that time I told you that I worked for the Huffington Post? Anyway, I did. And it was a column about bad dates, right?
Ooh.
So it was all bad dates, and I mean like really shitty dates. And it got so much traffic. It was a test for them. And then all of a sudden it just kind of blew up. And it was like the minute I would post a bad date, all the comments would come trickling in. And everyone was like, I think people just like misery loves company a little bit. So people they wanted to hear all the bad date stories.
Yeah, totally.
I had maybe one good date in the like year and a half or whatever that I wrote the column. And I wrote about it, and people were like, we don't care. We
No one
don't want
wants
to
to see
hear.
you be
Like they
happy.
left comments, but it was like, we don't care.
Like no one
This
was
is
happy
great.
for you?
Nobody cares. Like what? No, nobody cared. And they actually said, they literally said, they're like, we're really excited that you had a great date, but like, this is boring. And we kind of want to hear about the shit show that is your love life. And I'm like, okay.
All right.
Great.
Fair.
Okay. I mean, because at the time it really was a shit show, so I get it.
Was this after your divorce?
Pre-divorce.
Oh,
So
pre-marriage.
yeah, before I even met him. Actually, I had to stop writing the column because I met him. So
Wait, was he the one good date?
No.
No.
No, okay.
No.
What she didn't mention is she's only had one good date in like her 30 plus years on this planet, and it was not him. It was me. Spoiler alert. Just kidding.
How'd you get that HuffPost gig?
Well, it kind of was an accident.
Casting couch.
It actually reminded me a little bit of the article that you wrote because I would go home. So I dated to eat when I first moved to the city. This was pre like me getting a full-time job here. I was like 24. I moved here without a job because I was like, who the hell is going to actually like hire me or fly me out here from Maryland, where I'm from, with no work experience really to interview for a job.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't a big player in this space. So anyway, I knew I had to move out here. So I moved out here, no money. I had like a mini savings that I got from like graduation shit, and then decided that I had to eat because all of my money was going to rent. And I dated to eat pretty much. And I'm not joking. Like I was going out on like 10 dates a week, which yes, the math doesn't add up, but it's
The
because
stamina.
I would do.
Calm down, Wilt Chamberlain.
Well, it
Lord.
wasn't working. So what else was I doing?
Most girls are like, on the first date, or at least for me, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to eat too much. You don't want to be like grabbing too many chips,
Right.
but you're probably like, can I take these with?
Yeah, she's got like a chicken wing in each hand.
I had a system. I would go out. I would take half home for like my next meal.
You're a real innovator.
I really was. I had a notebook because I was going out with so many people. I had like a notebook where I had to keep notes about them so I wouldn't.
This
my
guy
God, I
likes
love it.
Chinese.
Yeah, it was
He's my
insane.
Tuesday guy.
It was insane. So anyway, what came out of that, of course, was like dating for quantity and not quality. So you can imagine the assholes that I was meeting. So yes, so I was dating just to eat, and I was meeting like the most awful people. And of course, the stories were crazy, right? So I'd go home and I'd tell them to my friends, and they'd be like, which is what reminded me of your article. They were like, you have to tell these stories. Like you can't, I've retold your story 6 times like this week during the holiday dinner parties. So I was like, okay, fair. And I started a blog. And then I was messing around with this guy who was a piece of shit who I wrote about.
Piece of shit.
Eventually, he was awful. And anyway, he actually saw this thing in the Reader. It was like a holiday contest for Valentine's Day, and it was called Screw Cupid, and it was like it's actually a really smart idea where basically like you had to submit your bad date stories, and then they'd pick a bunch of winners and they'd perform them as like dinner theater as part of this like singles event on Valentine's Day. Brilliant idea. Anyway, I stuffed the ballot box because I had so many of them, and I won like first, second, and third.
Oh my God. So the bad date guy though told you about it?
Yeah.
Silver lining.
Funny.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And then the Huffington Post was there covering the event. So they were like, we think it could be really cool if you did.
Amazing.
She's got a lot of them, and I have to say we've met on Bumble, and like, you know, when you're dating nowadays, you meet someone, maybe you get to a point where you Google them, it's the first thing that comes up, and there's like 100 articles,
which makes it really hard.
Yeah,
really,
and they are
really
some of them are fairly graphic and in depth, and you're like, oh, so this is all I need to know about Jenna. Fantastic.
Yeah. Sorry. I know it made it really hard to date, honestly. And even the podcast sometimes makes it hard to date. Like my boyfriend now does not listen to this.
Which is probably a good thing.
But he also, I don't think, would care because he now knows me. But it's just hard when you meet people initially and they have this, you know, you go into a date sort of 2 steps behind because someone thinks they know you because they've listened to a year-long worth of content. Right? It was 24 hours of content or whatever
but
that
also,
would add
I would
to.
kind of like, I understand wanting to listen to like one maybe episode, but
Yeah.
then I would be like, you know what? I don't like.
Oh, I've been on dates where people have quoted me back to me.
Which is actually really
weird.
Something I think I would do, but like, but I really wouldn't. And I love that a guy did it.
Yeah, it's really annoying. So it's hard.
Do you have your Instagram open on Bumble?
I do. Yeah, it's my handles in my profile.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
Thirsty. You're so thirsty.
I don't know what I think about that.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I mean, I'm public on Instagram, but like I don't know if I like need the person to see my pictures.
Yeah.
Mine's very curated. Like it's real curated. I don't let too much personal stuff get out. So I recently, about 3 months ago, I completely cleansed my Facebook personal profile, like anything important. And then anybody who friend requests me, I just accept it. Because I'm like, whatever. I'm trying to grow the podcast and meet people. Who cares?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It feels like it's so much easier for dudes, though, because like, what a different reaction, right? Like, what a different reaction he got from someone on Bumble than I got from somebody on Bumble.
Who called you the C word.
Yeah. Like, women don't care as much, I don't think, about stuff like that.
Wouldn't you be creeped out if some guy like quoted me back? I would be like, oh
I did get creeped out.
Yeah,
we were sitting at dinner and he like, I don't remember what it was, and at first I didn't get it, but I was like, that was clever. And he goes, yeah, you said it. And I go, oh, yeah, that's probably why I thought it was so clever. But also that's fucking weird, right? Like it was a whole weird thing. Anyway, so your article, that kind of reminded me a little bit about that because I know there was a larger what's the word I'm looking for? Like meaning to what you were saying. It wasn't typically necessarily about your bad dates, but of course, because that's where my headspace is.
Sure.
That is what I took from it. And some of those stories, and you didn't even go into them, but what the fuck? There are so many of them. I was like, I need to know more. So anyway, guys, this episode, we're going to kind of date. We're going to kind of
we're going to date.
We're
three of us.
We're totally dating.
We are a thruple. A thruple? A trouple?
Thruple.
I don't know why I said thruple. What's would a thruple be if there's 4 of us? The dog?
Oh yeah, Miles totally would want, and he's a master snuggler. So anyway, so we're gonna kind of dive into that a little bit, and give all you miserable souls out there some company.
That's all we're really looking for
in your dating life. But before we kind of get into that, go ahead. Do you want to ask the first question?
Sure. So Jenna mentioned the article that you wrote and got a fair amount of attention in the Chicago comedy scene. You started with this quote, and I have to say this because I like love this quote, and I think it's a super good segue into not only how you got into doing comedy, but just the overarching kind of premise of the episode. You said, if anyone asked me at 22, Bridget, what you would be doing at 37, I would have confidently answered, I'll be married, living in the Chicago suburbs with 3 kids, and working at a PR agency. You would not have said, I'll be very single, living in a glorified studio, my frozen eggs locked up in the fertility clinic of Illinois with an unpaid internship at the comedy club. So I think that's a good starting point and where we are now. Why don't we get through the journey, how we got from point A to point B?
Also, you don't want to live in the suburbs.
Do you live in the suburbs?
I'm in Plainfield.
Oh, that's a hike.
I work in the Loop. I'm here literally constantly.
You got to move.
That's
what I keep saying.
Yeah, I'm going to move. I'm doing it, girls.
All right.
Enough about me. Back to the guest.
How did I get there? I don't know. I mean, I grew up in the western suburbs. I grew up in Western Springs, which is near LaGrange.
Right.
A lot of people don't know Western Springs. Well, I don't know. And
I don't know any suburbs.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you said
yes. It's only 12 miles from the city, but could take you an hour and a half if there's bad traffic. So I don't know. I just think it was like everyone's path. I'm the youngest of 3. I have 2 older sisters. We're all 2 years apart. And actually, a lot of my high school friends were like the majority of us are the youngest, which is kind of funny. So we've always I just feel like I always hung out with older people. And it just seemed like it was like the rule. Like you go away, I don't know the rule, but like the path. Like go away to school and go downtown and like live downtown for like 3 to 4 years, then get married, and then go back to the burbs. And you know, that's the path I thought I'd have. I don't know why I really thought that at 22 because I had never had a serious boyfriend. Like
best laid plans, right?
Like the, you know,
I hadn't even had sex yet. So like I don't, you know, and I feel like I was
22?
Like, at 22.
Wow.
I didn't have sex until I was 24.
Wow. I think
know.
that might be.
It's the Menage-A-Pod record, I think.
I think so.
Really, that is so. I'm 22.
You're a high achiever. I know.
Yeah, my mom wishes that were the case for me.
I don't know. I tell a joke that I say like I take Plan B for like no reason. I just have had a very big fear of getting pregnant. Like I could
Fair. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, a huge risk. And one of my friends was like, but we're 37 now. Like, it's not that easy. And I was like, I know. She's like, are you still going to have this when you're like 52? And I'm like, probably. I'll be like, I'm going to be the oldest mom. You know, like.
Just taking Plan B until you're on the AARP.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know.
A rhymer.
I can't really blame it on Catholic school because.
I mean, you could, and you wouldn't be wrong.
I could, but like a lot of my friends, you know, went to Catholic school too, and like had sex when they were like 16. So it's you know maybe I think it's my own like I like have OCD, I have anxiety, so I think it's my own brain. But like I thought I got my period in 5th grade, but really I was just wearing a pair of my mom's old underwear.
Plot twist. It's a real M. Night Shyamalan right there.
Amazing.
Yeah. She was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and I had older sisters, and like, it was
That's
just
amazing.
I was like literally at my friend's house, and I went to the bathroom. I'm like, Anne-Marie, I gotta go. And I like, ran home, and then I'm like, oh my! I was like, you would have thought like something like real. It wouldn't be that weird for 11-year-old to get their period.
No.
But I was like so distraught. My mom's like, those are my underwear.
Also,
She's like, everyone.
How did you not know? Because I'm trying to picture my mom's underwear when I was younger, and I don't know if I would wear them.
I have weighed more than my mom since I was like in 3rd grade.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know. I mean, but also that is kind of true. Like I wasn't like, I don't know. I guess I was like a tall 3rd grader, but like my mom's tiny.
That's the episode title right here. Tall 3rd grader.
3rd grader. So I don't, yeah, like
Funny.
I was wearing like, you know, women's briefs, high-waisted bikini briefs. So, I mean, I just have been nutty. Well, what was I talking about? Oh, so like, why? I kind of was like, why did I think that? I just thought that was the path. Like, I was like, and then I'm like, I have to work at a PR firm. Like, I just got to wear like a J. Crew suit. Like, this is just gonna be my life. And it wasn't. And like, I was a late bloomer, obviously. I was a huge makeout slut in college, but I was like, I'm not gonna do it with someone that's not my boyfriend.
Then that's not really being a makeout slut.
Well, I would just make out with them.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't sleep with them.
Oh.
Do it.
Do
Like bone.
Do it. Gotcha.
The no pants dance.
Yeah.
The nope. It's my favorite dance, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was just like, so I don't know why I thought that, but that's really what I thought. I just thought like, oh, by 27, it will all like fall into place.
Right. I think
you're at 37, it's not in place.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty common refrain. I mean, I definitely, my personal experience and people that I've been friends with who have same thing at 22, at 23, 24, whatever, coming out with their undergrad or their master's, go into some corporate job and they think they've got it all figured out. And then at 35, they're into like their 3rd career change or they're doing something like totally not even adjacent to what they initially started doing. So I don't think that that's that unusual.
Yeah. I did work at a PR firm. I had an internship after college, and there was a girl that worked there who was great. And she was like 28. I remember being like, I can't believe she's not married.
Really? That's
yeah,
so funny.
I remember thinking that. I don't know why. My oldest sister did get married young, 26, which is
that's
pretty
young.
young.
Yeah.
And then my middle sister got married at 32, which I think is actually more aligned with, I don't know. So,
especially nowadays, I think people are getting married and having kids like later and later.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, totally.
I got shit to do in my 20s. You like party, spend too much money on dumb things, go out all the time. I can't be doing that with a kid and a wife.
Yeah. I mean, my 20s were fun. I don't regret them.
No, definitely not. Did you get your purse stolen in a blackout like Jenna?
I didn't black out.
In your 20s? No, that was like last December 29th. That's when I lost my wallet. At like, I forget the name of the bar.
It happens to grown-ups too, okay, TJ?
The next day I was like, oh, where is my... I'm like, oh, I must have switched purses. Like, I wasn't thinking, and then it was totally stolen. And they went to like the Big and Tall.
Oh.
In like a very bad neighborhood. And then like I had like I think Nordstrom was the one that like flagged it. Like they were trying to go online, like spending all my stuff.
It's so jarring though when something like that happens. And honestly, there are better ways. Like nowadays, security is so good.
Yeah.
That like she didn't even, I don't even know if this girl got out of the Target, honestly, before they flagged me. So I don't know what people, like if you're going to be PSA, if you're going to be a criminal, be a good one.
I love how you shifted into your like really good broadcast voice there. She like she cocked her head back, and puffed out her chest. All right, guys, PSA. I'm here to drop some knowledge.
Anyway,
for all those criminals out there listening,
it's like
we skew very heavily into the criminal demographic. Yeah, we have a lot of like cons who just like posters of Jenna up on the wall. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't be mad about that if someone had a poster of
like
me
a penitentiary
on their wall.
pinup girl.
Yeah,
it's just you in a turtleneck.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Or me in my pajamas. It's like I have two outfits. It's usually like a sweater that we record in, and then or my pajamas, which was like 2 weeks ago.
You actually should feel very flattered, Bridget, because you
I put on real pants for you today.
Oh my God, you do not have to.
I know.
I'm not wearing real pants.
Anyway, so
how did I end up?
Yeah.
So I dated someone seriously from 24 to 28.
Okay, that's a long run.
That was long. Yeah. I think there was a part of me though that like,
oh, okay, right. But you had sex because I was sorry. Yeah. I was doing the numbers in my head. I'm with you. Now.
Math isn't her thing.
It's not my thing.
Yeah. So
sales.
But I know.
C student. It's fine.
Yeah. I got a D in stats senior year of college.
Relatable.
Yeah. So, I think, I really liked him, and I think part of it though is that I did, I had boyfriends here or there, but like nothing very serious, obviously, at all in high school or college. And usually I don't know, I was like, my whole life I was all about the chase. And then the minute the person liked me back, I'd be like, I don't know, like, so, but with him, I really liked him. And then, I don't know, it went on for a long time, but I think there was a part of me that really wanted to catch up to my friends who were getting engaged, who were getting married, and like, and he was great, and I have no ill will. I was so young now that I look back on that relationship, but we did date for a long time, and then I like emerged at 28. And
good word choice there.
Emerged and back into the dating scene, and I'm like, oh my God, like I remember like some guy I met, and then he like never called, and I'm like, oh wait, guys are like huge jerks. I forgot about this.
Oh,
like like I forgot how like bad it was.
Rude awakening.
Yes, rude awakening.
Come on, are we that?
Yeah,
we are.
You can't even.
Bad.
You
Never
don't even
mind.
have words right now.
I mean,
you're like,
I feel like
me of
it's
all
my
people.
duty as a man to like try to say that this is not real, but it's real.
But anyone
we
that
all
listens
suck.
to the podcast, we know better.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I was like, you're used to like a boyfriend, so then I'm like,
totally.
Why didn't that guy call me? Like, what do you mean? I don't know. So I didn't really date anyone at all. I do remember I was telling my friends the story because a girl I work with, she's like 27, and this guy, she had a great date, and he like never called. She was really upset. And I was like, I remember one time I got set up. I was 30. I was set up by a friend. We went on a date. We had a 4-hour date. He was so funny. We laughed like so hard. And I remember like smiling at him thinking like, kind of wanted one more fun summer of being single. I was like, but I guess you just know when you know.
And then he never called.
He never called.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I remember just being like, oh my God. I was like floated home. It was like the best first date. And I just remember feeling so stupid. I remember thinking like, I kind of wanted like one more hurrah, but I guess this is it. 7 years later.
One more summer of being
so
single.
Yeah, I know. Like what, I know, it's so stupid.
I feel bad for laughing this hard, but that's pretty hysterical.
I know. I was like, what? I don't know. So then the one story you had to ask me about, I started when I was 32. I met this guy at a bar. I played in an all-day softball tournament in Oak Park, which obviously meant we started drinking at like 10 a.m. And then I was like downtown on Wells Street outside a bar And this guy came up to me and he was like, hey, would you be interested on going on a date with a guy that's divorced with 2 kids? And I was like, hey, have you been reading my Match.com profile? How did you know?
How do you know my filters?
How do you know that? Exactly. So he was like really funny and his story was like a total mess. Like he was not even separated. Or no, sorry. He was separated. He wasn't divorced yet. He had like literally a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old.
Shit.
They got separated when she was pregnant.
Yikes.
So he's a real good dude.
Yeah, I would have never touched that. If
I
we
know.
were friends back then. Now we know. Okay, now you can.
But you know what?
They would have said no. Don't do it.
And also like, I don't know. I was kind of like, my parents are divorced,
Totally fine with divorced and kids, but that's too soon. And a 3-month-year-old,
3-month-year-old?
Yeah, 3-month-year-old. Yep. One of those.
Honestly, and he's really a funny person. And
I'm
so
sure.
Funny is like a big quality that I love.
But like emotional capacity.
No, it was so stupid of me.
Yeah.
And it was stupid of him. You know what I mean? Like and he is the same age as me. So we were both 32. And so we kind of started dating. And I was like, oh my God, like, it just was going really well. And then like 6 weeks we dated. And I was just like, this is so weird. Like, it's not right at all because of like his baggage.
Right.
But I'm like,
you definitely need that
we
healing
just
time.
really match up well. So he started to like kind of pull away, like started to kind of like pull back. And I actually was like, hey, if you like, you obviously have a lot going on your plate. Like I have nothing. I have a dog. But I'm like, I don't have, like, I'm like, why don't we just like reconvene in the spring? You know what I mean? Like see where we're at. Like this timing's really bad. I really like you, but like you are like going through a divorce and you've got like little, like this is too much. And now it's the holidays. And he was like, not going to see his kid. I just was like, this is like too much,
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, like, please bear with me through the holidays. Like, I really like you. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So like but he didn't, like, he wasn't like, he was like that nice to me during the holidays. Like I was like, wait, it was like, he asked me to bear with him and then he wasn't like, he was like, kind of like not calling me back. Or I'm like, wait, why did you, like, I gave you an out. Like,
You could have took it. Instead, you kept me on the hook and now you're treating me like shit.
Yeah. I was like, totally like, hey, you've got a lot going on. Let's just talk later. The story that I had written about. Written's right. I writ about. That I wrote about, and then I tell this story a ton on stage, but not in stand up. I do storytelling. So we were like one Sunday we like went and bought a Christmas tree and like was with his kids. And
did you scream there's no Santa?
A 3-month-old wouldn't have known. But no, it just was kind of like he like was like being a total jerk to me. And I just had this moment of like, these are not my kids. Like they were really cute and sweet. Like, it was like a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old. They didn't know who I was.
Right.
But I was kind of like, what am I doing? Like this guy is clearly like over me. And I'm just like sitting, all my friends are like out, like having fun. And I'm like, worshiping this guy that doesn't like me and has so much going on. So he had to go drop his kids off at their mom's house. And I was like, all right, I'm going to show him. Like, I'm going to leave when he's gone. Like, that was my plan. And I had to go.
Way to teach him.
Way to show him. He's probably like, thank God.
He's like, I didn't even have to ask her.
Yeah. Like, please leave. Please stop talking. Please leave. So he left. And then I had to go to the bathroom really bad, number 2. So I went and I
what?
I went to the bathroom and I flushed and I was like, okay, it's going down. And then I like heard a noise. I looked. This is so embarrassing and gross, but there was just one little turd bobbing its head.
A survivor?
Water. A survivor, yeah. Just a little bobblehead in the water. I'm like, shit. So
literally,
can you swear on this?
Please.
You say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck yeah. So I go and I like flush again and it starts to go down. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go start to wash my hands and I like can see in the reflection in the mirror that like I heard a noise. I look like water is like seeping up over like the toilet's overflowing.
No.
And the turd is like bobbing.
No. Oh no.
So I'm like,
Miles
oh my God.
Like, what did I do? He's like, I'm so used to hearing that word.
So I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, I gotta get rid of this turd. So I like wrap my hand in toilet paper, like reach down and grab it. I'm like, yes, like there is water everywhere.
So draw the picture right now. I'm imagining this. You're standing in the middle of this man's bathroom with a hand wrapped in toilet paper holding
marble floors. There's like water on these like very nice expensive floors.
So it did overflow.
Oh yeah. There was a pool in his building. So like he had
there's 2
kids beach towels. Yeah. And I like had like one kid's beach towel. Like I was like trying to clean up.
Oh my god!
But I have like shit in my hand. Like
No.
And so I got so nervous. I just took it and I put it in my pocket.
No.
Just save that one for later.
Was there only one bathroom in the
No,
apartment?
this
You
is the thing I always
could've
tell.
flushed it down the other toilet.
I always say there were 3 viable options. There was another bathroom.
Yeah.
I could have run. Number 2, he had like a backyard, like where dogs went.
Sure.
I could have flung
You
it.
just throw it outside.
Yeah.
Number 3, he had kids in diapers. Like I could have wrapped like really heavy and just put it like in the kids like. And I just froze and I put it in my pocket. So then then I'm trying to come back. He like came, I'm like holding the like clinker whatever thing.
No,
I can't
wait.
leave. My cool plan of being like, where'd she go?
I still would have left. I think I would have just left.
You would have?
Yes, I would have been like, sorry, your shit's overflowing, but I gotta go. It's not like you were gonna see him again.
Meanwhile, she's
Anyway,
considering
right?
passing off human shits as the Chihuahua turds in the backyard.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't believe this came from the 5-pound Fluffy. I mean, come on.
You never would have known. It was winter. It was like snow out there. Yeah. So he came back and he's like, hello? And I'm like, I'm in the bathroom. I'm like, I don't know what happened. He's like, what'd you do? I'm like, nothing. You know? So yeah, we didn't make it.
Didn't work out.
Yeah, no.
Wait, okay. That story is ridiculous, but I also kind of want to know what that aftermath was like.
Of the toilet
Did you
thing?
write
Yeah,
on the
no.
walls with the poop since you
No,
were
but I
holding
mean,
it?
like, since he came home and there was water all over the floor.
I mean, there was no evidence of shit.
Oh, okay.
So like he didn't know. I just was like, I
You
need to get
didn't
out
think
of
you
here.
smelled it in your pocket? Also,
No.
what happened to your pants?
Okay, so I got in my car and I was
So
driving
many
home.
questions.
Yes. And I remember I called my sister and she's like, wait, where is the turd now? I'm like, it's still in my pocket.
Did she mean the guy or the literal turd?
You meant the literal turd.
No.
And then this is the weirdest and grossest part is that I was starving. And so I
You ate it.
No.
Just kidding.
It's very nut. Is this a Mounds bar?
Yeah, I went and picked up food and like I waited till I got home to like properly dispose of the turd.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, no.
And I'm wearing the jeans.
It wasn't
tonight.
summertime,
No, I'm
was
just
it?
no, it was December.
Oh, okay. All right.
Coming up on the 5th year anniversary of the turd in the pocket. Yeah.
You know he probably tells that story too, though.
Oh,
But he doesn't know about the turd
Well,
pocket.
he
He
does.
doesn't.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, I'm like we're friendly.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we're not together or anything, but I showed him a video of it like years later because I told that story on stage.
Right.
Yeah, he was mostly
my
offended
God.
because like when I described him, I'm like, he wasn't very cute. He had a double chin,
Oh shit!
and like the most thing he like took away from that was like. He's like, I can't believe you said I had a double chin. I was like, I mean, I exaggerated a little bit, you know.
Grow a beard, bro. It'll cover up
Yeah.
anything.
But
That's
yeah,
so funny.
yeah.
That's a great story.
That is a
And
great
disgusting.
story. I can
TJ
say I've
loves
had a lot
good
of
shit story.
Man, you have no idea.
I do know. We've all heard it.
I went through a 3-episode run of telling a lot of shit stories. I apologize. Mea culpa's all around.
Do you remember, like, I think it was last year or 2 years ago when that girl in London got stuck, like, in between the windowsill of, like, throwing out, like, she was dating this guy. It was, like, their second or third date, and she went to his house, and she shit, and, like, I don't know why she did this, but she got nervous, and she, like, threw it, like, in the window, and then it got stuck, so she tried to climb through the window, then
And
she got stuck.
No.
And they had to call the fire department. And, like, there's a picture
No.
of her, like, her, like,
No.
legs. And so I feel
Oh
like
my
when that
God,
happened,
no.
I literally, 20 people were like, this reminds me of you. This reminds me of your story.
You want
Google that story. That story is so funny.
Oh my gosh. Nothing like that has ever happened to me. Here's the thing. Well, mostly because I feel like nowadays, maybe not when I was, I don't know, maybe when I was 30 because I'm still doing this job. But I feel like now more so than ever, everything goes viral. So it's like, I have this fear of something like that happening to me and someone like taking a picture or
Oh,
like
I
this poor
know.
woman, like who took the picture of her being stuck in the window? Like that sucks. So like now I feel like any,
for sure.
right? Like
Yeah.
any embarrassing moment you have.
I'm so happy Facebook, like, it came out senior
Yes.
year of college
Yeah.
for me.
Oh, God,
but, like, no one
please.
was using it.
No, I can't.
So happy.
That's a really funny story. What else do you have? I know you have more.
She's just here for the funny
I just
stories.
wanna hear
Yeah,
them all.
the funny stories.
Yeah.
I did go on a date with a guy. This was a really annoying one. I think I was like 31, maybe. And he had, I go through like periods where I'm like, I don't want to be on any of these apps. It's so stupid.
Same. Mhm.
And then
It's
I like,
exhausting
It's
sometimes.
exhausting. And then I watch
Yeah.
a movie and I'm like, oh, I want a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, and so I like signed back up. Like, I don't know. And so I was going through this time and I met this guy, and his like handle on this was OkCupid, and it was something like, I love tasty animals, or like something really weird. Which later my sister was like, mistake number one. Like, why did you respond to that?
Yeah.
But
fair question.
I thought he was cute in his pictures, and like he seemed pretty like nice and normal, and he kept asking me out, and then I kept being like, no. I think I canceled a couple times, and then my sister was like, you know what, you originally said yes, like you should go, you never know, all this
He
stuff.
wore you down?
Yes. So I lived like in the Loop at this time. He lived in Old Town, and he was like, do you want to go to Old Town Social?
Oh.
We talked about like he like said he loved old fashions, and my aunt swears you can't get hungover on old fashions.
Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah, I was like, well, if you have like 9, you are.
Yeah.
But
I have
she's
like
like
4, I am.
Yeah, she's like, but if you make it the right way, whatever. So I told him that, and he's like, Old Town Social, is that still there? He was like that. He's like, they make the best old fashioned. I'm like, okay, like great. He's like, want to go there? I'm like, yeah. Little did I know, Old Town Social was like literally across the street from his house. So he's like, let's meet there.
Brilliant.
Yes. And he was like, well, just get a drink. It was like 7:30. I remember I took a workout class. I got Subway. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this date. And we got there, and I sometimes think right away. Like when I saw him, I'm like, oh, you don't really look like your pictures. I'm like, I just was like, oh, he was cute in the pictures. I wasn't like, oh, he's
right,
totally my type.
But he knew his angles.
And so I was like, oh, I don't know. So we get there, and like in the minute of like 5 minutes talking, I think sometimes you just know. Sometimes you're like, maybe, I'm not sure. But I was just like, oh, I wish I was watching Kardashians right now. Like I just was kind of like, I don't know. And he closed his eyes the whole time when he talked.
Oh.
The whole time he was like shaking his head, like closing his eyes. And he was like,
Was he on heroin?
No.
Okay.
So, wait. So I was 30, and it said he was 35 on OkCupid. It said no kids, like whatever. Just that's what's the word I'm looking for?
Foreshadow?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was like precursor. I don't know if that's the right word.
Plot exposition.
Yeah. So we get there, and he's eating pretzel bites, and I was like, oh, are these really good? Or like, why'd you order? We were just getting a drink. And he was like, I don't know. I just ordered them. He's like, I don't really eat carbs. Like, hence the title of my handle. Like, I love tasty animals. And I was like, oh, that's what you meant? Like, I don't know. Like, why? And I was like, okay, again, why am I on a date with a guy that had that as his name?
Fair question.
So he gets old fashioned. I just had a glass of wine. He talked the whole time. Like, I learned so much about this guy. Like, everything. I feel like he told me about like his brother had been in trouble. He told me he like traveled. Like, it was clear that he made a lot of money. And then he was like, as you know, I love meat. And he's like, do you know what a charcuterie plate is? And I was like,
you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Have you been on Pinterest?
Yeah. I was like, yeah. I was like, wait, you like the meat and cheese plate? Like,
yeah.
Wait, am I like missing something? And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, they have a really good one. He's like, since you're my guest tonight, you can choose 3 of the meats and I'll choose 2. And I'm like, I don't even like.
You don't fucking get
I just said Subway. I was like, just let.
Don't do me favors, bro.
I know. I remember looking at the waitress, like, get me out of here. I'm like, what are your favorite meats? I don't know. I'm like, and this is also where I'm like, I don't care. I was like popping the
pretzel bites,
like dipping them in the cheese.
You're like, no fucks given. You know what? This guy, I'm just like loading on carbs.
Putting your finger in the cheese. You're like, this is so good.
Yeah. So he goes on and on. Doesn't really ask me any questions about myself, just about himself, whatever. And then he goes to order a 3rd drink. And I was like, oh, I'm good. Like, I had 2 glasses of wine. I was just like, I just want to go home. And I think he was kind of like annoyed. And so he's like, you know what? I don't need a 3rd drink. Like, we'll just get the check. And I'm like, okay.
Good call.
Yeah. So the bill comes. Okay. First of all, this guy like hunted me down to
get on a date with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Said like, I can't believe it took you so long to get on a date with you. I'm like, and then he was like, since you're my guest, like he made this all about like he chose the place. He was the one that ordered all this food. So the bill comes, and I like did the reach down, which my coworker at the time was like, never did the reach down if he asked you out.
Yep.
But I
agree.
Have this like feeling of awkwardness. So I just went down. I'm like, oh my God. And he also just talked about how much like he traveled and like it was clear he
had some money.
Yeah. So I like throw him my card, and he's like, awesome, really cool that a girl would go Dutch on the first date. I was like, you are such a loser.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah. I was like, whatever. So we go Dutch. And I'm just like, okay, well, thank you. Like for nothing. I'm like, I took a cab here and back. I paid half. Like I didn't think we were eating. Like you know what I mean? So, and he actually had 3 drinks because he was there before me. So I'm like, this wasn't even split. Like, you know, like I was like so mad about it. So a couple days later, he messaged me and he was like, hey, he's like, safe to say there were no sparks either way. I'm just like, okay. And he's like, but I just wanted to call out. You probably noticed on my profile that my age changed. Oh my God, wait, hold on. So in the meantime,
it's getting good.
One of my friends who's like a super good stalker on Facebook and stuff.
Social media sniper.
I've got one of those.
She's so great.
Shout out to Ariel.
Yeah.
Go on.
Shout out to Sean. So I was like, you know, look up this guy. And she was like, oh my God. She's like, wait, so he's got like a kid? And I'm like, no. And she's like, yeah, his name. And she like sent me this link and it's him. And it's like me and my son. I'm like, this guy told me everything about his life. Failed to mention he had like a 10-year-old.
Oh. Weird.
Yeah. And also I'm like, he didn't have it on his thing. And I kind of felt like that's something you should, if you don't even put on your thing, but like if you tell the person the first date that,
you definitely gotta get it out of the way early. And I don't think it's fair.
People don't want to sign up for that, you know?
Yeah. And I was only 30 at the time. So he writes me and he's like, hey, you probably noticed that like things, you know, you probably noticed that my age changed, that I'm actually not 35 and I'm 40. And he's like, but I just wanted, you know, he's like, surprisingly, my response rate has had no decline since I changed my age.
What the fuck?
I'm like, wait, do I care? But I wrote him back. I was like, listen, I was like, it's really weird that you lied about your age from 35 to 40 because it's not that big of a difference.
Yeah.
I'm like, number 2, I think it's weirder that you failed to mention you have a 10-year-old son. And I'm like, number 3, when you ask a girl out 9 times, tell her she's your guest, have her pick the meats of the charcuterie plate, and then you make her pay half. I'm like, that is like poor form.
Picking the meat's a power move. Come on. At that point, he's got to pay.
Yeah.
Was his name Alan?
No. It was Aaron.
No. I went out with this guy named Alan, who's definitely not listening to this. He was older. He was it was right when I moved into this apartment, actually. And he sort of did the same thing. He like was much older than he said he was. He looked nothing like his picture. But I was bored. And so I went out with him a second time. The first time he wore snow pants out on our date. Snow pants.
Come on.
And it had snowed, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And I was like,
how bad of a snow?
I mean, not so bad. Like a couple inches. Like, I wasn't wearing snow pants. I did wear snow boots, though. But like...
But that's normal.
But that's normal. I wasn't wearing snow pants. And it was like a super casual date. So I was like, okay, fine. It's just like because there's snow on the ground. Our second date, he wore snow pants again. And there was no snow on the ground. It was just cold. And I literally looked at him and I was like, hey, buddy, do you own a second pair of pants? And he's like, yeah, why? And I was like, it's not even like that cold. I don't understand. Like I was
Why
so
are you
confused.
wearing snow pants? Who
You're so
owns
confusing.
snow pants? Unless you're like a full-time like skier or like.
And he might have been, but like, why are you wearing those on dates?
No.
Why are you wearing those in everyday life?
Maybe
period?
he just felt like he needed a protective layer due to your raw animal magnetism.
Well,
what was like the top layer? Like a normal shirt?
Just like a t-shirt.
He had
like
on
a long sleeve t-shirt.
He had a button-up Oxford.
And a tie.
Nice collar taste.
No, it was just very, very weird. And on the second date, he wanted to take me to the Mariano's Oyster Bar. In his snow pants. I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work for me. It was so bad. It was so bad. DJ, you paid for our first date, and then we never went out again.
Yeah, then I was like, this woman's literally the worst.
I know.
So charge that up to the game.
But I guess my point is like about your story, like even if you're not going to see someone again, you still should pay.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask
them out, yeah.
Especially with that level of persistence. I mean,
totally.
I'm sure there are people out there that would say both good and bad things about the experiences of dating me. But the one thing is, if I ask somebody on a date, I'm definitely going to pay for it. I mean,
Totally.
And I didn't order any food. He
Right.
ordered all the food, the pretzel bites and the charcuterie plate.
I know. I mean, big spender, this dude. Pretzel bites and the meat and cheese tray.
I feel like you hurt his feelings with the third drink thing, and he then was like,
but you know
forget
what?
it.
I think guys on online dating have like such like I hate when I'm such a turnoff when you're like scrolling through and you're like, oh, he's cute, and then it's like, don't message me if we're just gonna be pen pals. And you're like, okay, like
A lot of women put that too, though.
they do.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Oh, I feel like it's such a like. I don't know. Sometimes you're like talking to someone and it's not going anywhere and just ends up nowhere. I think people's feel, and they're like really looking for something serious. If we're never going to meet, it's like, okay, well, you don't know.
Right. I think a lot of people, this is kind of a cool segue. I think a lot of people on the apps have, and we've talked about this kind of in previous episodes, but just the expectations around it are, I think, weird. And if you go into it with more rational, reasonable expectations and the fact that, you're like busy, fitting dating in where you can, and other people are doing the same thing. So maybe they don't get back to you right away on a freaking dating app. Maybe they are talking to 3 or 4 people and your conversation kind of petered out, but you're not like the worst, and you don't think they're the worst. So you're just like, okay, well, I focus on this thing. I mean, it's not like, I know this is not the most eloquent argument ever, but it's just not the biggest deal. And I think people are so quick to get their feelings hurt and so quick to get like worked up about perceived slights that aren't generally happening.
Yeah, because I feel like there's been people on Bumble. I'm like, oh, I wanted to write that guy, but my time got up. Then you can extend time or something. But I'm like, I forget. I don't know. I haven't dated in a really long time.
Oh, Bridget. I traveled a couple years ago, and I was like traveling for work. And my first day there, I got on Bumble. I was in another state. I'd never been there before. And I matched with a woman like right before bed. And then the next day, like I was just at like a work thing, and I wasn't like really on my phone. So when I got to my phone, I had a message from her that said, I remember you. You're that piece of shit that I always match with that never fucking messages me. And I was like, hey, I've literally never been to Austin, Texas before in my life before like 8 hours ago. So the odds that we have literally ever matched ever are slim and none. And she was just like, well, I'm sorry, but you look just like an asshole who always does this. I'm like, I mean, I am that asshole. I just haven't done it to you.
Yeah. I wonder if she
has been scorned on the dating apps.
Like did that on purpose to try and get your attention.
Maybe. Ooh, plot twist.
I mean, that would not be the greatest way to get someone's attention, but maybe some guys.
It's pretty aggro. Who knows? Maybe I was feeling combative and it turned me on. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh. Where did you meet Rob?
We actually met on Bumble.
Okay.
So he doesn't live here. He lives back in Virginia.
Oh.
I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Maryland. But we matched during 4th of July weekend.
Oh, nice.
So that's
So did you see him that 4th of July, like that weekend?
No, I actually didn't see him for 6 weeks after that because I went to go pick up my nephew in New York and then fly back. And then so we missed each other. And I basically wrote him off and I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do long distance.
Yeah.
Like I was tired too. Like I was just getting off of the dating apps because I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need a break. It was one of those times. And we were messaging back and forth and I just kind of wrote him off because at first we had been talking and he didn't mention that he wasn't from Chicago. And then
wait, but you matched with him while you were in
Chicago.
He was here.
Yeah, he was here for the weekend.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so
travel swiping. It's dodgy.
It is. And so we didn't actually meet for
travel swiping.
We didn't meet for like 6 weeks. And just I wrote him off and then he kind of grew on me and he like was funny and charming and all those things. And we were like starting to FaceTime a lot. And his
that means serious business.
Also dodgy.
His
FaceTime?
Job, well,
yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh.
I hate when people say they want a video chat. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Now I got to get like ready. Let me put some eye cream on.
Really? I think it's really easier for dudes than it is for women.
That's true.
Because we have to like make sure we have makeup on or our hair's done.
I just went to a thing today about unconscious gender bias. So check your privilege. It's just as hard for men.
Is it? Because you just throw on a hat. You just throw on a hat, right? Like anyway, so we talked for like 6 weeks because his job takes him. He travels for work. And so we just FaceTime for 6 weeks. And by the end, I was like, he's so cute. I like him.
Were you nervous to meet him in person?
So nervous because, of course, our first date was a sleepover here in the city. So he was coming back from his work trip here for the night and then going back to Maryland because he has 2 kids. So going back to Maryland for his kids. And then or Virginia. Why are you shaking your head at me? Because he has kids?
No, unrelated.
And then the first date was like 24 hours. Because so we had never met. And he shows up at my doorstep. Could have gone so badly. And that's why I said to him, I was like, I don't know if this is such a good idea. And he's like, it's 24 hours. If it sucks, like I'll go get a hotel room. But then I was like, well, how awkward is that conversation going to be, right? But it was great. And now we've been hanging out since. So
have you met the kids yet?
I have. They're lovely.
They already call her
Aw.
mommy.
No,
Aw.
they definitely don't. They're little sassy pants, which I love. They're
How
like
old are they?
7 and 9.
Oh, boys
Yeah.
or girls?
2 boys.
Oh,
So they're
good.
so they're very I love them.
Being a daughter of a divorced dad, girls are not nice.
No.
Girls are hard. I know, and I do really well. Like
I don't know if he's divorced, but like,
he is divorced.
yeah.
No, he's still married.
well, no, I didn't know if his maybe she passed away.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
No,
Yeah.
they're divorced.
Look
They're
at you
definitely
trying to be aware.
Yeah,
Who
no,
cares?
they're definitely divorced. But yeah, so it's been good. It's been interesting. We talked about this already on the podcast before, but like I do really well in a long distance capacity.
I think I would do really well in a long distance.
Yeah, because you're just kind of like I get all the emotional support I need during the day with like texting, and then we'll FaceTime sometimes or whatever it may be, and then I get like
How often do you see him?
well, so his job takes him away 6 weeks at a time. So that
He's
but
gone for 6 weeks.
He's gone for 6 weeks and then he's home for 6 weeks. So when he's gone, I obviously don't see him. But when he's home, we see each other like, I don't know, twice a month.
Long distance relationships are like the I can't believe it's not butter of relationships
What?
because you get like all the good of it, but none of the bad. Occasionally a little gaseous discharge. It's not.
Ew, gross. That was gross. Come on. But he had a surgery on something, and so he has been not working. So it's been actually really good timing. I was like, sorry about your injury, buddy, but
This is good for our
This is great for our relationship. So hasn't been working since like October maybe. So we've been seeing each other quite often, which has been
nice.
really nice. Yeah, and I see him next week for Thanksgiving. So it'll be good. But
TBD.
yeah,
TBD.
We shall
I would
see.
prefer that
was,
it would
like, the
end and
most
she would
I've
go
ever
back
done.
into the dating pool because it's better for the podcast. We need you to be actively dating, Jenna.
Well, why does it have to be me? Why can't I tap out and you can fucking date now?
I mean,
Did you guys have Paul on? Paul Farber?
we did.
Yeah.
I
He was
love
like
him.
the second comedian we had.
So Paul, but he has like the voice of reason.
Yeah.
So if you get serious,
Yeah.
then you can be the voice of reason.
I feel like I was
That's true.
the voice,
of treason.
I was the voice of reason even when I wasn't even when I was dating.
I'm highly offended by
'Cause I
that
have the
because I'm very reasonable.
I have the therapy brain.
But shifting focus. So in the article, you mentioned that you've shifted focus from dating to free up some time for comedy. Good for
Yeah.
you. Obviously, that's a huge thing. When you have something that is a passion you can really put your energy into, it's a nice diversion. I know Jenna, she was absolutely exhausted from some of the idiots she was meeting, and I was sort of the same way. So we talked a lot about your dating stories, but now you do comedy. You're interning at the Laugh Factory. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually not an intern anymore.
Oh,
Look
nice.
at you.
I mean, I haven't graduated on anything else. I'm no longer. I just was like, I can't do this every Friday.
Oh.
But I loved it. And so when I started in Second City, I took a writing class there. Like, no desire to be on stage or anything. I didn't think.
Right.
And I took a writing the humorous memoir class. So not like a sketch or an improv or anything like that. So then we had a storytelling show and I did well at that. And then I started doing storytelling. And then I was like, I do love storytelling. But sometimes when you do storytelling and you go to these shows, like some stories are really sad or like they're really deep and they're cool. But I kind of like more of a like upbeat, funnier
Right.
atmosphere. So I was like, maybe I could try stand up. And a guy that I went to college with, his name's Andrew Sitter. He had always was posting on Facebook about Drink Date Laugh. I hadn't seen Andrew in like years. And so I messaged him. I was like, I'd love to get coffee with you. I just want to hear how you got into stand up and tell me everything. And he's like, come to our show. So I went to Drink Date Laugh at the Laugh Factory. It was super fun. And then I met Paul that night. And Paul's been a really huge mentor to me and a good friend.
Such a great guy.
Yeah. And he kind of just told me how his story, he was 35 when he started doing comedy too. So he just gave me tips. And then they posted in like a comedy group that they were looking for an intern. I'm like, I'll do it.
Nice.
So I was like the world's oldest intern, 35. My
That's
parents were
okay.
so proud.
Well, you have a day job, so
Yeah, no, I know.
It's not like that's all you were doing.
No. But yeah, it was just a great experience. I still like post on their social media, on their Instagram page and stuff.
Nice. Yeah, we've actually gone to the Drink Date Laugh a handful of times ourselves, and Jenna got up on
Oh,
stage
come on. Do
there
we have
one
to tell
night.
the story
did?
again? We've told it like 6 times. I fucking bombed.
It was not good.
I wonder if I was there.
The first question was if you had 90 seconds in an elevator with like a celebrity that you would like to sleep with, give us your elevator pitch. She went first and she just went, I can't go first. This is too hard. And that was it.
Wait, what got you on stage? Like what answer got
Paul? It was Paul.
Yeah,
I guarantee
because we already knew him.
Because we knew him.
And he introduced her as the co-host of this podcast. And it was about her story about making out with the dude with the false teeth and his teeth fell out on the floor.
Yeah, I wrote about that.
Yeah, dude was like an MMA fighter. He'd been battered, and they like kissed at a show at the House of Blues, and his teeth popped out onto the floor. So like with their phone lights,
No,
they're
they were in
scrambling,
my mouth, and then I spit them on the floor.
scrambling.
Oh my God, like his
teeth. Yeah.
Yeah. It was disgusting and very tragic, and obviously traumatizing.
Wait,
as well.
did he have blood?
No, so they're just like popping teeth, like almost
partial
like a
or whatever.
retainer kind of thing, like top teeth.
So does he normally take out his retainer to kiss people?
No, no, I think it was
he
just like loose.
Oh,
Yeah, it's probably just a
thank God.
partial, like it
Yeah,
only has a few
it
of the teeth or
was.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kissed a guy.
I failed.
I had sinus surgery, and I was like in for like a week and a half, and then I was like getting antsy to go out, and I went out with one of my friends, and we went to Louis, and then I saw this guy who was actually a client of mine who was Irish, like from Ireland, and his friends were there who were also Irish, which is just a sucker for accents.
Same.
So I ended up making out with this Irish guy, and then he was like, oh my God, like there was blood all over his face, all over my face. And I think he thought that I was like doing drugs. And I was like, no, I just had sinus surgery and I really shouldn't be like out. And
What?
yes, we never talked again. We lived on the same block too. He like lived in Chicago. He just was
Oh
Ireland.
my gosh.
Yeah, but it was really bad because I think he thought that I was
I feel
druggy.
like only,
But it really-
you have really good stories.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned someone equating the bloody nose with potential cocaine use because you had another story that was kind of tangential to that you wrote about. Can you tell that
which
one real quick?
I do this as a bit. I set it up a little bit more dramatically, but the true story is that after one of the drink date laughs, we used to go to Bridget McNeil's.
Right.
yeah.
Which, I mean,
Closed
Bridget
down.
McGuire, Bridget McNeil, it's like fate.
I know. There was a Bridget McGuire's in South Bend.
Right.
But it burned down.
Did you do it? You were like, it's like the Highlander. There can be only one. I am Bridget
My
McGuire.
like babysitter went to St. Mary's. We went to visit her, and there's a picture of me when I'm like 7 in front of Bridget McGuire's, and the bar burned down.
That's
So,
incredible.
So we were there, and it was I don't know. We were all drinking. There's a band weirdly there. It was really fun. Some of my friends had come to the show, and then there was a guy there who was older, and we like put it together that he had one son who was like 17. So I think this guy was like 50, 52. I actually kind of had a crush on his friend who I think was more like 37.
More age
my
appropriate.
age appropriate,
Yeah.
but he left, and I'm like, And I don't know.
Get you a sugar daddy, Bridget. Go ahead.
I know. And so like he and I were talking, and then we put it together that his son went to like high school with my old friends, or my old boss's son, who I used to babysit for when the kid was like 5.
That's hysterical.
Because he's like, oh, my son goes here. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's where, whatever. So we put this together. It was crazy. So I thought, oh, this guy is like pretty normal. Like he's not going to murder me. He's like, do you want to have a drink? I live like right next door. And I, looking back, no, he was fine. Like we like called, like it was like, I felt that
Comfortable.
Yeah. I didn't think he was, and I didn't really.
You're like, this guy definitely does not have anybody chopped up in his basement.
Oh, please.
No.
I did so many things that I shouldn't have done. Like I went to
know.
so many places that in retrospect,
But
I'm
like this
"Ooh,
was
that
like
wasn't
not
safe."
like 25. This was like,
Oh,
where you're kind of like,
well, true. Okay.
But then I'm like, this guy's like 50, whatever.
Yeah, what's he going to do? He'll run out of energy if you can fight him off.
Yeah. And
You
his
can outrun
okay,
him.
so we go to his place. It's like totally normal. He's got these 2 huge dogs. Like I'm like, okay, this is fine. And I also was like, I'm not going to hook up with this guy. I just was going to have another drink.
Right.
And then he like kissed me in his kitchen, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I can't like feel like my mouth. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what if? And then I almost like started crying. I was like, wait, I think
You thought Bell's palsy.
yeah. I was
yeah,
like,
maybe. Ooh, scary.
yeah. I was like, oh my God. Like, and he's like, what? I'm like, I can't feel like my mouth. And he was like, oh my God, no. Like, sorry, I did coke earlier.
Oh.
Apparently a fair amount of it, too.
Wait, but I was like,
well-
you were like he literally had a flight the next morning to take like his son to look at colleges on the West Coast. Like
that's
he
probably why.
yeah, but I was like kind of like, I mean, and he texted me later that night and I was like, I have to go, and I went to Five Guys on Division by myself and got like €1. And then he texted me like, "Did you make it home?" And I wrote back like, "Who is this?" And he was like, "Oh my God, you just left." Like, I'm like, "Oh right, yeah, I made it home. Sorry." I'm like eating my cheese fries. Like ouch.
That's so funny.
Classy.
I can't believe that's never happened to me with all the people like that I've made out with in my day. I can't imagine.
I'm sure it's happened in my younger years, but that I was like so much drunker than I was this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that I didn't notice because but I mean, he was old.
He was 52. He was meager and frail. You could easily fight him.
Yeah.
It's like, I will not be overpowered by this senior citizen. Sorry if there's any 52-year-olds out there.
We would we would see each other then because I'd go to like Bridget McNeil's after Drink, Date, Laugh, and it would just kind of be like, "Hey there," you know, like it was like,
wow.
"Hey." Yeah.
And plus, if your options are peter out for the night, you at least got that guy to fall back on.
Yeah, totally.
It's always good to have a backup
He's in
plan.
my phone as Coke Dad. Yeah.
Fair.
That sounds like a name of a cool screenplay. I don't know. Coke Dad.
Okay. Anyway, I have one more question for you before we wrap this up.
In the most helter-skelter episode of Menage-A-Pod.
No, I love it. I actually love when we do episodes like this because I feel like I had so much.
You're gonna have to cut a lot and figure out what's gonna.
I'll make it work.
Fine.
She doesn't care because I'm the one that does it. She's like, it'll be fine. He's good at it. Whatever.
That's true. That's so true. I wanted to talk to you about egg freezing.
Yeah.
Because my mother, the peach that she is, constantly tells me that she wishes that I would do this. Now she's come to terms with the fact that I don't want kids. And I mean,
did you ever want kids?
No.
Oh.
I didn't. And I think that was.
And after that first one got hit by the car, she was like, that's a sign from God. I'm out of this game.
I never wanted my own kids, but I've always, after the divorce, what I would always say to my mom was like, I actually want to date someone with kids because the idea of having like older kids, a baby, no thanks, but like older kids, I'm totally down with. And then obviously, unless they have full-time custody, we'd only have them half the time.
Yeah.
So that's the best of both worlds, you know? And so I was always like, that would be the capacity that
totally.
Right? Like I can totally wrap my head around that. But my mother couldn't really come to terms with the fact that I didn't want kids. And she'd always be like, just in case you change your mind. Your aunt used to say the same thing. And then all of a sudden she turned 60 and said she wished she had kids. And I'm like, meh, did she though?
Yeah, whenever anyone gets close to dying, they're like, man, I wish I had someone to take care of me and wipe my ass when it comes to it.
Do you have siblings that have kids?
I do. Yeah, my sister has a son. And
so you're like, you got your grandkid.
Yeah, I have my grandkid. I mean, she has a grandkid and I have a nephew who's amazing. And he's enough for me. It's enough. So I don't know.
I mean, I do want kids, and I do have to say the older I'm getting, the more I just kind of came to a point in my life that if I don't, I'm not going to like, it's okay. You know, right. I just accepted the fact that if it doesn't happen, I don't think I would do it. Like I have a friend that just had a baby on her own. Like she got a sperm donor. I think it's awesome. I do not see myself doing that. If anything, I would probably adopt. But I kind of give myself like, maybe I'd be like 50. Like I still feel like I'm 23 years old.
Same.
I do too.
Like I'm honestly. Like, who would take care of it? You know, like, so, but I was 33 and one of my good friends, she had a baby and then she was trying to have her second and she couldn't. And it was like IVF and they couldn't figure out why. I thought maybe she's in early menopause. And she was like, I remember I had brunch with her and she's like, you should just like find out like, like if you should check into that, like, and I'm like, how do you like test to see if you can like have kids or not? And so, but she was like, if I were you, I'd look to freeze your eggs, which I know costs a lot because my oldest sister had IVF.
So much money.
So, weirdly, kind of, my company, they covered,
I remember that,
like a huge portion of egg freezing.
That's incredible.
Like 90%.
Oh man, more companies should definitely be doing that.
Oh my God. I feel like a lot are now. This was 3.5 years ago. So I just, looked it up. I called my insurance and they were like, yeah, it actually, whatever. So I made an appointment and I froze my eggs. So I have like 10 or 11.
So enough to make a couple omelets if you need to.
I mean, the couple thing is like,
Have you been saving that for this entire thing?
No.
I think you probably have.
I just started like visualizing like 10 to 12 eggs.
Okay.
I know, like they're like, I don't know. Yeah. So it's just kind of like a weird, I don't know, because once they thaw, it's such a weird process. Like once they thaw, some might not make it.
Right.
And then you got to match it with sperm. So there's a lot. I mean, it's not that many actually. Well, it's fine.
Oh.
They didn't tell me like to redo it or anything.
I thought like 10 was good.
It's good, but I think I had some friends that got like 15.
Oh.
So I just have more chances. But then I feel like there's been so many stories I've heard of women that have been told that, like one of my really good friends, she's 4 years older than me, and we worked together at my first job out of college. And I remember, like, I texted her. She, like, asked me to do something, and I was like, I can go, but I can't drink because I'm freezing mags. And she was like, oh, my God, I did it in January. And I'm like, oh, my God, I didn't know. So we talked, and she only had gotten, like, 2. And she was 39 at the time or something.
That's a bad decision.
So then she was, like, really upset, and they wanted her to do it again. But then she had reconnected with this guy, and they had been dating for a while, and she got pregnant.
Wow.
And then she just had her no, that was not on purpose.
But she was probably on all sorts of fertility drugs, right?
No, this was like after the fact. She just like she did it, and she just was like, I can't believe, whatever. And then they like moved in together, and then she just had her second baby, which was on purpose. So she was told, like, you probably will not have kids.
Right.
She was 38 or 39. You know what I mean? So I don't know. So I have these frozen eggs, which is kind of a nice
Plan
fall. Yeah, or just to be like, I know that if I am 44 someday,
right,
like I have 34-year-old eggs. So I don't know. I mean, I think if your company pays for it, like I tell the younger girls at work, I'm like, I don't know, you have to go out and do it when you're 27, but if you're in your early 30s, and it is a process, and I'm not like the biggest like crier. And I was like an emotional wreck. I mean, you have to shoot
a lot
yourself.
Of hormones, right?
You just shoot yourself up with, also the Fertility Center of Illinois. They were great, but like, it is like a baby farm in there. It's like they're calling you by number. You feel like just place. Like, yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I recommend it if you want to have kids and you're single and your company pays for it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the key. And your company pays for it.
Or at least a good amount. I had to pay like $5,000 total, but it wasn't $5,000 at one time. It was more like, oh, you owe like $600 for this. And then it's $500 a month or a year for storage.
Oh man, that's actually cheap
like
at twice the price.
Unit.
It's like if I had to put my motorcycle away over the riding season.
What's the storage?
$500 a year.
Oh, that's not terrible. No. I thought it was more expensive than that.
You can't get, man.
No, that's what I pay. I don't know why it's that. They store them.
That's not bad at all.
No, I know. It's I don't know. It's a weird thing, but I think it's kind of a,
I think I just came up with a new business idea.
What?
I'm going to get into that. Fertility. I'm going to start my fertility clinic.
Oh, that's frightening. That's just frightening.
It is. I can't even like lean into this bit. It sounds so bad.
Yeah, I get gross. It's just gross. I actually was listening to a podcast and they were reading an article about how someone blew up like an egg donation.
Oh,
sperm,
wait, there was
thing.
something that happened in like
Did you
Ohio?
hear this? Yes.
Yes.
And so there was literally like sperm everywhere. So like people were, it was like sperm and I don't remember, something like that. And they were like, can you imagine being the people on the scene? Or like,
oh my God, they're like all these like
coming at your face. You're like, not the first time that's happened.
Yeah, 4,000 eggs and embryos were destroyed.
Yeah, that's really sad though.
That's
Especially,
really sad.
Here's the thing that I really, I felt very like I didn't realize my friends that were going through IVF and that they were like really. I was just getting the eggs taken out.
Yeah,
but there's so many people that are at the end of that. They're like have them taken out and then they're like matched and they have like whatever. And then if it doesn't work, I'm like that is a really trying process.
Yeah.
I was just a single person. Like I can afford to do this, or I have obviously my insurance could, but like. I was emotional. I feel like I cried at work a couple times, like things that I normally didn't like normally do.
Yeah.
You can't work out. You can't drink. You can't like.
No, I would no, done.
It's like a month of like
right.
And even after you get your eggs taken out, and you can't work out until your like ovaries go down. It's weird.
Oh.
So I don't know. I was just like, I felt so bad for my friends that had gone through IVF and it didn't work. I'm like, because they probably were like, holy shit, I have to do this whole thing again.
Yeah. The emotional and financial investment and all the time.
Totally.
I mean, I can't imagine what that's like when it doesn't pan out or come to fruition.
Yeah. I did meet a guy shortly after and I was like, oh my God, this is like total Hallmark movie. Like,
I was just going to say.
But I did meet some guy like in May and I did that in March and I was like, this is totally going to be like cliche. Like I froze my eggs. Then I met my husband. We didn't.
So it was another last summer being single?
Yeah, that actually did last. It lasted how, like 8 months? Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a good run.
That was a good run.
Yeah.
He sucks.
They all do. All All right. Well, Bridget, thank you so much for coming and
Thank
talking
you
to us.
guys.
It's been wonderful. And before we go, why don't you remind everyone like where they can find you online and read your article and Instagram and whatnot?
Yes. My Instagram handle is at bmcguire82. And my article is link in bio.
Nice.
First time I've ever said that.
Link in bio. Check it out. And guys, read it. It's super hysterical. It is literally when
Yeah,
we read
good.
it, we were dying. And every comedian that I know around the city was sharing it all over social media. So it's definitely a good read. Jenna, anything from you?
No, I'm good.
All right.
If you're the person who stole my wallet, you can go fuck yourself, but please return it.
They're not going to return it. We all hate
Fine.
you.
That's
So if you want to find more out about Menage-A-Pod, head over to our Instagram at Menage-A-Podcast, where you'll find our link tree that includes links to our Facebook group. Go there. What? Twitter account, website, top episodes, more. Do it all. Finally, a quick thank you to everyone who makes the show happen. Lovely guests like Bridget, my wonderful co-host Jenna, me, because I rock, and you guys for downloading and listening to the show. Until next time, share us in your stories, retweet, share our postings, and find other ways to tell all of your friends about Menage-A-Pod, the sexiest podcast in Chicago. Eat that shit on
Yeah,
Unplugables.
take that.
Bye, guys.
Bye.